Hello and welcome back to Just Elise, a podcast about healing, remembering who you are, and learning to live in deeper alignment. I'm Meg, and each week I'll be sharing the soul work, self-reflection, and healing tools that have supported me, in the hopes that it supports you too. In this week's episode, we're going to be talking about learning to trust ourselves again after burnout, or just simply rebuilding self-trust within ourselves, regardless if you've experienced burnout. So in past episodes, I talked about how a year and a half ago I experienced burnout, and then I stopped all of my businesses, my meditation, all of the things. And so now that I'm stepping back into it and fully healing from burnout, I'm learning to trust myself again. To trust myself again that if my body is telling me that it needs something, I'm going to honor that and give that to my body or give that to myself. For a long time, I didn't realize how disconnected I was from my own voice and from my own intuition. It was like I needed other people's permission to do most of the things I wanted to do in my life. And I was second-guessing myself constantly. Don't get me wrong, I still second-guess myself. There's still imposter syndrome that lives in there. But before, I felt like I had to check in with others to see if I was doing okay. Where now it's like, no, honey, you need to check in with yourself. And that's when I realized I didn't fully trust myself. I didn't fully trust my own decisions. Self-trust isn't about never making mistakes. It's about knowing that you will come back to yourself no matter what happens, that you are there for yourself no matter what happens. It's being the person you needed when you were younger. It's being your own number one support system, your own number one fan. It's reparenting yourself. It's in every moment saying, what do I need right now? Am I doing okay? Am I feeling too anxious? Do I need to take a break? Do I need to get some water? Do I need to get some food? Just like a parent would say to you. And it's also built through consistency, not perfection. We're not seeking perfection. Being perfect isn't even real. But some things that erode self-trust would be overfunctioning, which could lead to chronic burnout, always looking for other people's permission or approval to do something in your life, which I'll talk about an example of how that fit into my own life in a minute. It could be people-pleasing and ignoring your own needs in favor of what somebody else needs. It could be constantly abandoning your own boundaries and overriding your gut or intuitive feelings because you don't want to seem like the bad guy, you don't want to seem mean. I know a few people in my life who struggle to set boundaries because they don't want to seem mean. And it's like, you're not being mean, you're respecting yourself. If they see it as mean, that's on them. But your boundaries are not mean. They're in place to protect your own well-being. And something else that erodes self-trust over time is the fear of getting it wrong, the fear of failing publicly and not being enough, right? I know it's hard to get over this fear. I'm still working through this fear myself, so I'm not saying I'm completely healed and you need to be completely healed as well. But what I have been telling myself lately is, Megan, even if it's 60%, still put it out into the world. Who cares if it's not perfect? You pride yourself on being perfect to the point where you don't even put stuff out because you think that it's not perfect. But your 60%, somebody else is going to see as 100%. And honestly, when I'm pushing myself for perfection, it takes away the uniqueness of me in a way, because I'm seeking this perfect story. I said everything perfectly. I made sure to say everything I wanted to say. I didn't forget a thing, which, by the way, ADHD, I always forget something. I always forget to either tell you something or mention something, and I won't remember until after I'm done with the podcast or after I'm done, filming the social media video or whatever it is. And then sometimes I will start to beat myself up dang it, I wanted to remember to say that. But I'm never going to remember all the things. I'm just not. My brain is not wired that way. I wish that it was. It's not. So I'm not going to hate on myself and how my body functions just to create this perfect version of myself, which isn't possible. Not only do I not think it's possible for me for various reasons, including the ADHD, but I don't think it's possible for anybody. Yes, we can seek to always create something meaningful or do the best that we can in every aspect of our life. Yeah, we can strive for that, but honestly, it can be a recipe for burnout because it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. What we're reaching for does not exist. Perfection does not exist. What I'm reaching for now is, did I try? Did I put in some effort? Did I try? Okay. Can we be proud of that? Even if it's not perfect. Even if you forgot to say everything. Even if you forgot to do everything. Even if you didn't finish everything in your morning routine. Did you try? Okay. You know what that just reminded me of? That movie where it goes, but did you die? But did you try? I just think that perfectionists like myself need to remember that Trying is better than not doing anything. There's also always going to be that fear that we're not doing enough, we're not good enough. There's always going to be that fear with many aspects of your life. Doesn't mean it's true. Honestly, that we've talked about this many times before, but I will continue talking about it. That voice that's telling you you're not good enough most likely came from how somebody spoke to you in childhood and you internalized that voice. Maybe it was a parent, a grandparent, a sibling, a teacher, whatever it was. Maybe you picked up on somebody else's insecurities as well. Like, okay, they appear to be afraid to step into their own power, so I need to be afraid to step into mine. It must not be safe to fully step into my power and my voice if they are fearful of that as well. Like, we subconsciously internalize that. And especially maybe if you were spoken to poorly as a child, said something along the lines of, you're not good enough for that, you can't do that, you can't reach for that. We get some really negative messages throughout our life. And maybe it wasn't just during childhood. Maybe it was during adulthood as well. Maybe it was an abusive partner. I know when I left my abusive relationship, it took me a very long time to get a positive mindset back, because you hear negative things from the person who's supposed to love you the most, and you start to internalize that. You start to think, I guess it's true. It's not true. It's somebody else's projections, it's somebody else's beliefs, it's somebody else's limiting beliefs that you have now taken on as your own. And it's not yours to hold. It's not yours to carry. You are never too much. You are never too loud. You are never asking for too much for asking for your needs to be met. I need to do a whole episode on that. You are allowed to take up space. You are allowed to reach for the things that you want. You are allowed to be imperfect in that process. A moment that I realized I didn't trust myself was actually recently, when I was really struggling to let go of my job in legal. Like, that job brought me in a lot of money, and so it was really hard to let go of. But I know what that job did to my mental health and the toll that it took on me, and just the environment and being around that all the time. And I seriously woke up one day and I was like, but what if I just quit? I had gotten a second job as a grant writer, and I thought, that can pay my bills. It's going to be tight, but why don't I just let the legal job go and pursue my actual dreams? Pursue my actual business. I know I couldn't carry it all because I tried that and I burnt out. I worked the 10 to 12 hour days and I ended up burning out. I'm not saying that somebody who's working a 10 to 12 hour day is always going to burn out. I think it depends on the job as well. But I think that in my case, I also wasn't weaving in enough nervous system regulation tools to make that day work. I was just hustle, 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 hustle. I need to get this done. I need to hustle. I need to finish this. And like that mindset, absolutely, I needed that to work in legal. Like, you have to be fast. You have to, you have so many cases, you can't not be fast. Like, you fall behind so easily, and that was so stressful. And then I carried that same energy into all of the other aspects of my life. No wonder I burnt out. No wonder my nervous system was finally like, oh my God, I can't take this anymore. Just like fried. But, knowing what I know now, what I typically do is I do blocks of work. So I'll work for an hour. I'll set a timer for an hour. I have this timer. I really love this thing. When you turn it here, it sets a timer for an hour. Or 5 minutes, 15 minutes, 45 minutes, whatever you want. And so I'll work for an hour and then I take a break. And then I work for another hour and I take a break. So right now I work between 5 and 7 hours a day. I know that my limit is when I get to 7, 8 hours, I'm no longer productive. You know what I mean? I'm just going through the motions at that point. We do reach a point in our days where we run out of energy. All of us do. We all have a finite amount of energy. So that has been really helpful to me. Working a block and then taking a break for my nervous system, whether that's just a deep breath or going into the living room and laying on my yoga mat and doing some stretches or getting something nourishing to eat, something. Breaking up that day has really helped me. For a long time, I talked myself out of leaving that job because I just didn't think I would be able to make it financially without that job. It's also like I was waiting for other people's approval in order to leave that job. You know what I mean? I was waiting for my friends and my family and my mom or whatever to tell me, oh no, it's fine, go ahead and leave. When I needed to make that decision on my own. They weren't able to tell me that because when I spoke to them about it, they would realize that, yeah, I might be in the red a little bit every month until my business picks up steam. And so to them, that's not safe to do. So their advice would have been, no, wait, get another job and then try and quit and do your business. But it's No, that's not what I needed. I cannot do a full-time job and also full-time pursue my business. There's not enough time in the day. There's not enough energy for me in the day. That's what I know about me. I'm not saying it's not possible for another person. Just for me, I know that's not possible because it led to burnout. So I knew deep down I needed to quit that job in order to not only be able to breathe and my nervous system be able to breathe more fully, but also to create space in my day so that I had time to pursue the things that I truly wanted to pursue. So that was a moment where I just had to trust in myself, trust in my own intuition, trust in my own decisions, and make that big leap, regardless of what somebody else thought. And when you're in deep burnout, it can be harder to hear your own inner voice, your own intuition. Sometimes when I was in deep burnout, I couldn't tell if something was my intuition or was just deep anxiety. I've gotten much better at noticing it now. I notice that anxiety, it's loud, like it comes with loud thoughts. It comes with like almost like a panicky feeling sometimes, where my intuition, it's so subtle. It's just this inner knowing or this inner feeling like, that doesn't feel right for me. I can't quite place my finger on why, but that doesn't feel right for me. Or that does feel right for me. Or I'll get like full body goosebumps. That's a huge sign for me that something is meant for me. And, you know, becoming more in tune with what my intuition is saying versus what my anxiety is saying has also helped me to create more self-trust as well. And then when my intuition is telling me something, listening to that, not talking myself out of it. Do you know how many times I have talked myself out of my intuition and then it turned out to be right all along? 95% of the time my intuition was right all along. Honestly, the other 5%, maybe it's just not proven to be incorrect yet. But there was this guy, there was this guy years ago who I went on a date with, and I remember my intuition telling me something's wrong here. But I talked myself out of it. I told myself, he's such a nice guy. He seems like such a nice guy. He's so giving. He's so caring. He seems so empathetic. And he turned out to be one of the most dangerous men that I've ever dated in my life. But I pushed past that initial intuitive hit that was like, there's something wrong here and you need to walk away. But my brain talked myself out of it. Stop doing that. Your initial intuitive hit has the first hit that you get has the most intuitive information that you're ever going to get. And so I stopped talking myself out of those moments. And again, in doing that, I am creating more deep self-trust in myself. Other moments where I've learned to trust in what I need and cultivate deeper self-trust is, for example, allowing myself to rest. If I'm going through my day and I'm like, damn, I'm so tired, I could really use a nap. Before, I would beat myself up for having to lay down, for having to rest for even a moment. Now, I go take that nap. Sometimes I'll set an alarm, like if I know I have stuff to do for 2 hours or whatever it is, but I just allow myself to rest. And resting is a radical act of self-love. Also, just trusting your body to tell you what it needs and then giving your body what it needs when it tells you. You know, sometimes I'll check in with my body and I'm like, what do you need right now? I'm feeling really anxious. Okay, could a walk outside help? Could getting some tea help? Could doing a breath work help? And then giving those to myself. Other ways that I'm rebuilding self-trust. I'll check in with my intuition and my body before I make a big decision. Also, sometimes I just let silence be okay for a minute. You don't have to rush to fix, to answer, to respond to everything. Silence is okay. We're so used to sometimes managing other people's emotions that we feel like silence is like something is wrong. There's two aspects to this. Sometimes when we're getting silence from somebody, we can feel like we're doing something wrong, maybe because we got the silent treatment from somebody else in our lives, a parent, a grandparent, a sibling, a teacher, a partner, whatever it was. And so that ingrained in us that if somebody's silent, I've done something wrong and there's something I need to fix. But also, it's allowing somebody else to sit in that same discomfort. If somebody else is feeling that same discomfort that I just described, yes, I have great compassion for them because I've experienced the same thing, but at the same time, that is not my responsibility to manage their emotions. Like, yes, I have great compassion for somebody experiencing that, but it's not my responsibility to manage that coming up for them. Like, they have to manage that, right? And so letting silence be okay. You don't have to rush to fix, to answer, and to respond to everything the second it comes your way. Also, it's keeping small promises to yourself. I promise myself that I am going to drink 3 of these guys every single day. That way I'm getting enough water in. Also, I've been adding coconut water as like a little bit of an electrolyte mix for my water to make sure I'm getting enough electrolytes. And that is a promise that I have kept to myself. Or it could be a promise like getting outside more, going outside once a day, doing one nervous system regulation technique a day. Whatever goals you're reaching for, if you're making a promise to yourself that I am going to do this moving forward, keeping that promise as often as you can. We all know that sometimes some things come up and you can't finish your full morning routine or whatever it is, but it's most of the time keeping those small promises to yourself. That over time is going to build resilience and self-trust. It could also be journaling or scripting if you're going through a hard time. I know some people hate journaling, they hate the word journaling, but I think it's just because some people hate like writing stuff down. I was talking to a friend one time and it's like the annoying part of journaling is like your brain is on to the 14th sentence, but your hand is still writing the second. You know what I mean? It's like a slow process and some people don't want to go through that slow process. I get it. So what I do in moments like that where I don't want to actually handwrite in my journal, I'll get out my voice memo app and I will speak to the voice memo app. I'll brain dump everything that I'm thinking or going through and just talk it through. And then either I'll just save it in the voice memo app or sometimes I'll email myself a copy of that and I'll save it in a little folder that's, all about Megan's journal. And so that I can go back and listen to it if I need to. I'll like label whatever it was that I was talking about in that journal entry. So that is really helpful as well if you don't feel like just writing with pen and paper. Also, more things to rebuild self-trust. I practice a lot of self-compassion for moments when you mess up moving forward or you're second guessing yourself, and also times when you're bringing up memories from the past. I have really started to up my self-compassion. I want to share one thing that I've been doing lately that's been so helpful. So I had a memory recently that popped into my head and I was like, like you cringe, like, oh God, I could have handled that differently. And so lately I've been like labeling that part of my personality in my brain. So I almost like picture myself in the memory, and then I picture a second Megan coming in and she's got like glasses on, a school teacher, and she's got her little wand and she goes, "This is a perfect example of perfectionist Megan." Or perfectionist Penelope, as we like to call her. Like I make it like a little fun little game or like a little skit in my head to bring more compassion into that moment, to say to myself, yeah, you messed up. Yeah, you didn't handle that perfectly, but like, is there a more compassionate way for us to look at that? Or, if I look back at a moment that was really cringy, maybe I was oversharing, I'll put my little teacher outfit on and I'm gonna go, this is a classic example of Megan oversharing. We will call her, like giving them a name too, giving your little personalities and your little quirks a name. It helps to like depersonalize it as much. You know what I mean? So you're not like beating yourself up as much. That's just perfectionist Penelope. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, we need to work on perfectionist Penelope so she's not such a perfectionist. But when she messes up, it's just perfectionist Penelope. Shit happens. We mess up. I'm trying to think of some other ones. I wrote about them in my book. Hold on. Let me see if I can find them real quick. Okay, so it's in the section called Naming Your Ego on page 243 in my book. So here's a few that I've named. Repeat Reba. This is the part of me that likes to repeat situations from my past in my mind like the reruns of an old sitcom. Worry Willow. This is the part of me which likes to replay all of the things in my life that I'm worried about. Judgmental Judy. This is the part of me which will often judge another person or myself. Perfectionist Penelope. This is the part of me which likes everything to be perfect and just right. So to read on just a little bit more, it says, when I notice that any of these ego aspects of myself have engaged, I will often say, perfectionist Penelope is at it again, or whatever part of the ego, that I've named is at it again. For example, repeat Reba is at it again. And this helps to create separation between those repeating or looping thoughts and who and what I truly am, which is pure source consciousness. And another thing is also honoring our no. When we tell people no, honoring that, even when it's uncomfortable. No is a complete sentence. Also, self-trust begins with moments of honesty, even if it's micro moments of honesty, but it's radical honesty with ourselves. What have I done wrong in the past that I can maybe improve on? What have I maybe not gotten right in the past that I could improve on? What does my body need from me right now? Stuff like that. So if you're in a season of burnout or self-doubt or disconnection, I want you to know you're not broken. It's so human to experience these things. You're just rebuilding. And that trust, just like trust with anybody else, that trust is earned. That trust is earned with ourselves. by keeping the promises to ourselves and all the other things that I mentioned. It's every time that you check in and you pause and you ask yourself, what do I need? And before we end today's episode, I just want to ask you a question and invite you to reflect on what your answer might be. So this question is, what is one way I can show up for myself today to start to increase my own self-trust? What is one small promise that I can make to myself today to increase the trust that I have in myself? Also, here's another thing. When you're setting goals for yourself, like let's say you're setting a goal to do more with your morning routine, don't make promises that you're going to go all in at first. Make a promise that you're going to do something small each day, because if you promise that you're going to go all in, a lot of times that doesn't happen, and then you will be breaking the promise to yourself and not meaning to. Set small goals for yourself, small promises at first, and start to build that trust over time. Like this morning, I'm going to get up 5 minutes sooner. This morning, I'm going to meditate for 5 minutes. This morning, I'm going to go on a morning walk. Just keeping one small promise to yourself, and over time, you'll begin to rebuild that trust. So again, that reflection question, what is one way I can show up for myself today? Just find one small thing. Thank you so much for joining me today. A reminder that my book, Don't You Dare, is available on Amazon. You can find it in the link below. I'm also working on the Audible version, so that should hopefully be out soon. I also have my most loved meditation bundle. These are my highest rated meditations over the years. That's available for purchase below. As well, I'm currently working on a course called the Affirmation Reset that should be available soon, and I'm so excited to offer that to you guys, so be sure to stay tuned for that. I also offer one-on-one coaching and hypnotherapy services, so if you're interested in a session with me, please visit my website, meganshirey.com, meganshirey.com. I'm also a meditation instructor on the Insight Timer app. I teach there every Sunday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, so I'd love to see your face in person. Please join me there if you can. If you enjoy these episodes, please like, share, comment, and subscribe. It helps us to reach more listeners and expand this community. And please, if you love these episodes, please leave us a review. May you be happy. May you be well. May you be joyous and at ease, sending you infinite love and light. And until next time.